I kept hearing this little soft whisper. Who does she think she is? Who does she think she is to be putting herself out here as an expert? And I got to thinking about it. You know what is so interesting, as many of the people that I work with have experienced, is empaths have this capacity to be the soft place for everybody to land. We are the friendly face in class. We're that friendly person who works at the grocery store. We're that bartender that everybody dumps their problems on, or the hairdresser. And so I was all my life the one that everybody would come to and share their problems with. And I remember when I was young, and I was maybe 17 or 18, and I was thinking about a career, and I really was feeling called into psychology or social work because I had a brother who was diagnosed with schizophrenia. I really had always had so much compassion for the underdogs. And at the time I said that, my aunt said, "Oh, you don't want to do that. It's just nothing but paperwork." And in that split second, that one comment changed the trajectory of my entire life. I let one comment change the trajectory of my life. When I really let that sink in on how different my path would have looked if I would have pursued some sort of degree in personal development or social work, something along those lines. I did end up pursuing a degree, and I got a degree in art and graphic design. But I had an innate gift for compassion. And I went into the military. That was not easy for me. I ended up getting married while I was there. I found myself in a very controlling, abusive relationship, and I take ownership for that because at the time he had been abusive and somewhat violent prior to me marrying him. We had had some instances that he had shown his true colors. And I remember even the day before I was supposed to get married, we got in this big argument. And my mom said, "Are you sure you want to go through with this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, Mom, I have to. You guys all came down. We already bought the stuff. You know, we had all the alcohol and hors d'oeuvres and stuff. We were going to serve food." It's like, "Yeah, I have to do it." Well, silly girl. Knowing what I know now, you didn't have to do that. But that was a pattern. I had grown up with my mom, who always told me the story about meeting my dad in college. And she said, "Oh, he was really good at math and he really helped me get through college. And he asked me to marry him." And she thought, "Oh God, I better say yes or this could be my only opportunity. And she said she accepted the ring and then she went and threw up. Tell me there's not a pattern of issues there. She again got married when I was about 8 or 9 to my stepdad, who I had for several years, and he was a long-haired, bearded, toothless construction worker who would drink a 12-pack of Budweiser every night and smoke a pack of cigarettes every night. And he had a good heart. He had a really good heart, and he was a lot of fun. He was, for the most part, a fun drunk. We did a lot of camping trips. We did a lot of road trips. It was my house was the black sheep house of the neighborhood. My mom was somewhat of a white-collared professional married to this construction worker, long-haired hippie. And she was in love with him for a lot of years. And so then he died. She ended up spending the next 20-something years with his best friend, who had since been divorced, and they were friends. They were really good friends and sweethearts. And I see the patterns. I see the patterns. And I have created this life around my particular relationship with men, patterned very much like what my mom did. And it's interesting. It's an interesting observation. When I got married the second time, I was with my ex for about 5 years. And it was my birthday, and he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "A ring." And again, hindsight 2020, girl, no, we do not tell a man he should marry us. That was coming from someone with very low self-worth, low self-esteem, people-pleasing, zero communication skills. I didn't know what I didn't know. I guess what I'm saying is I didn't love myself. And if I would have loved myself, I would have either known that it was going to happen if it was meant to happen, or I would have walked away. Either way, I do believe that that relationship was meant to happen because he is the father of my kids. And I have 2 amazing teenage boys. One is going to be 18 next month. The other one is 15, almost 15 and a half. And when I got divorced in around 2017, I was a very different person. Broken, empty, exhausted. I didn't know who I was. All I knew is that I felt like I was dying from the inside out, and that the only way back to find myself was by leaving my marriage. I was putting all the blame on him. I was blaming him for not giving me enough compliments and not validating my clean house and the work that I was doing and what a good mom I was and all of those things. And those things are nice. Those things are nice, right? But that shouldn't be somebody else's responsibility. And, I had to go through the ringer. I had to learn what it was truly like to pour from an empty cup. For so many years, I poured from an empty cup because my idea of self-care was going to the grocery store by myself. Sometimes I would go for walks around the block or take a bubble bath. Like that was my self-care. I didn't know what meditation was. I didn't know what affirmations were. I had been on a personal development path at some point in my college years. I was reading Deepak Chopra's Power of Now, and I was reading Wayne Dyer and watching PBS specials and stuff like that. I was really interested in Sylvia Brown and the mediumship stuff. But then once I graduated college and I got married and I had kids, all of that took a back seat. And I had forgotten all about that part of me. So when I started waking up in 2020, I would say my waking up was in the slowdown, which, there's two ways to do it. You can do it with the really big thing, the explosion or implosion, or you can listen to the intuition and slow down and take a little breath from life and really lean into who you are. Because once I started spending time with myself during the forced shutdown, I couldn't just sit on the couch all day. It was driving me crazy. I'm one of those people that I love to be moving. I love to listen to podcasts, but I don't just like to sit and listen. I like to do stuff and learn while I am busy. So whether that's doing art or going for a hike or working, I love to just listen and learn. I will probably always be learning because it's fascinating. So I had somehow discovered affirmations in 2020 and I started listening to them. Maybe it was the divine algorithm working for me at that time, knowing that's what I needed. I started listening to some channeled messengers. I started understanding that inner voice that we all have inside of us and how corrosive it can be to who we are. But I was always somebody that everybody came to. I've always been that person. And so once I started learning how to fill my cup, once I started learning how to love myself and validate myself, I was able to pour more easily into others. And I think about the cliche, the glass half full or the glass half empty. And I've always been a fairly glass half full person. I've always been an optimist. I've always been the one that everybody says, "Oh, you have the greatest smile. Oh, I love your smile." I I've always turned on my smile as a way of, oh, I know this will help. It's like a little light switch for people. And I know that when I smile, it's going to help someone. And it that sounds silly if even thinking about that right now, but I know that when I have my just resting face, people will say, "Well, what's wrong? Is something wrong?" No. No, I'm relaxing my face at the moment. And when I do that, I know I look like my mom, which is funny. So let me take a sip of my coffee. So in 2020, I busted out the art supplies. I was painting with Kool-Aid. I was dancing. I was doing those little dance lessons in my living room. I was lip syncing. I was doing all kinds of corny stuff just to entertain myself. Nobody was dating at the time. My friends didn't want to hang out. I couldn't work because everybody was, in lockdown. And so I had nothing really going on in my life. I started exploring trails around my house and I started picking up on finding these little heart rocks. Everywhere I was finding heart rocks. Look at all these hearts. Look at all these hearts. It became so undeniable that these little glimmers were just everywhere for me. Every time I went out, I would find hearts. I started my Instagram channel, Heart Life 72, because that's what you do when you're Gen X. You put your birthday in there. And I started just posting my hearts to the internet. And I started using hashtags like Kelly's best life, living my best life, love is great, universal love. I had all these hashtags that I would always put in all my posts. And I don't know, maybe looking back on it now, I was literally manifesting my best life starting in 2020. And so my life was good. I had cut back on my clients. I had fired my employee. I was growing my cleaning business and then looking at cars, but I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. I just wanted to go back to simple. I really like simple. I don't like schedules. I found I didn't like having to meet my employee at 9 o'clock to meet in the car to drive to a client's house to go and then do this and then to drop her off. And it was just payroll and this is not me. That's not me. I'm not one of those people who enjoys that stuff. And yes, I could outsource that stuff. I get it. But cleaning is not my passion. Cleaning was very therapeutic for me. And I loved having the mobility aspect of having that movement in my life and just all that attention to detail that I could pour into somebody. I would just pretend that they had been traveling all day and they're walking into this hotel room that is going to be their soft place to land. That was the vision I would always hold for my clients. And it was really important for me to have more attention to detail and do a really thorough job on one house than to try and do multiple houses and do, a half-assed job. And so I pared back my clients. I was working 1 to 2 houses a day. I was finding a lot of joy in having time to go skiing, having time to go hiking, having time to do my art and read And when I moved in 2023 into the house that I'm in now, I was terrified because this opportunity came up and it was $700 more than what I was paying in my current apartment. But this house was on 2.5 acres right next door to my son's best friend's house. And I had driven through this neighborhood so many times, and I thought, oh my God, I would love a shitty little house on a big piece of land. And I manifested it. I did. I manifested it. And so I live in this, this neighborhood with $1 million homes, and I am surrounded by nature and deer and sagebrush and bunnies, and I have all this wildlife that comes through here. It came with this little room that had a separate entrance that when you walk through that, then you could walk through another corridor and then down a couple stairs. And I had set up my sound healing studio. So I had this little reception area, and I had my massage table. I had this little place for all my sound bowls. I didn't know what I was going to do with that little reception area. I just said, okay, it's going to be part of this new little business, my Stay Tuned Soul Therapy. And one day I thought, well, let's just see if there's a Chase Lounge I can find or something. And I looked online and I found this whole ensemble. It was a black shelf, a couple of those privacy screens, a couch, a coffee table, a bookshelf, all online for free. And I was like, what? I called them up. They were moving his dad into a retirement facility, and they didn't want to take this furniture, and they just wanted to give it a good home. And so we had to drive about an hour and a half down to Topaz, and I took my son and he drove, and we had this beautiful little road trip, and we listened to music and just made an adventure out of it. And I filled up that little front room with my reception area, and then my friend made me some custom resin art that she does, and I just started piecemealing this little healing center together with what I could, with what I had. And then I built my website because I had a background in graphic design. I thought, okay, I designed my logo, I built my website. It was not as intuitive as it is now. I didn't know how to do the booking online, so I would have people reach out to me, just little one-offs that would come to me, and they would come to me almost like when they were at their deepest, darkest, like holy shit moments. The ones who are so naturally gifted that they have experienced these different feelings their entire life. They've seen spirits their entire life. They've connected with the unseen in a multitude of ways. And the thing about it is, these people, if they go to somebody else, they're probably going to get put on a medication. And I'm not a doctor, but I do some pretty intensive dowsing work. And I know what I know, and I know what I've seen. I know what I have seen and how I have called out stuff that people have said, how did you know? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. It's what came through. A recent example was a friend of mine was experiencing some inflammation, and she's young and healthy. And so we were doing some dowsing work, and she came up for some heavy metal iron, but not natural. And I said, well, I don't do you cook in cast iron? And she said, oh my God, I boil my tea water in cast iron. And I said, okay, well, maybe cut that out of your diet and see what happens. One time I was doing a session with someone and I said, you're getting a code for a tattoo healing. Did you get a tattoo? And she said, no, but I was going to get one today or tomorrow. I had another friend who was in the hospital for some dark, dark thoughts, thinking about taking his own life. And I just happened to think about him. I had this intuitive hit to reach out and see if he was okay. And he's like, actually, I'm not. And so I said, can I look and see if there's something in your energy field that I can clear? And he said, yes. And I went into my dowsing toolkit and I found a lot of entity attachments in his field. I found a lot of the suicidal thoughts. I think about 15 codes that I quantumly sent him. And he said to me afterwards that the doctors and the nurses, when they came back in the room, said they could see an actual physical difference in the way that he was presenting. They said, like, something has changed in you. And these are doctors and nurses who visually picked up on his energy change. And then he, I think, was released shortly thereafter. And this is the work that I was doing before I had an egg. I have found codes for different diseases in people that I've cleared. I have cleared multiple codes on myself. I work with the emotion code. That was a practice that I learned early on. Brad, I can't remember his last name right now, but he developed the emotion code, and his entire book is basically a book of testimonials of how it's helped people get their life back, and then a how-to in the back. I don't have an emotion code certification. I'll make that clear. But I have a belief and a knowing in my soul that it works, because what I've found in my own field, what I've found in my clients' fields, what I've found in my kids. Another modality I started out with early on was biofield tuning by Elaine McCusick. And she's the one who talks about all the energetic stuckness in our biofield, in our aura. And I have her map. I used to map that out. And I can't tell you how many times people said, holy shit. Yes. They would tell me things at the end of our session that would agree with what I was finding in their field. I could feel a difference as I ran my tuning fork through their field. I could feel it like vibrate more, or feel like stuck potatoes, or sometimes it would feel like I just hit a wall and I couldn't move my tuning fork. And then I would say, oh, this is your ability to speak your truth. And then I would find at age 17, and then I'd find some sort of mother-daughter wound, or I would find a father-daughter wound the things I was doing here in my home studio gave me the courage to step into my next timeline. So when 2025 rolled around and I had met somebody in November of 2024 who felt like an immediate my soul knows your soul connection. She had found me through my website and booked an appointment. And when she showed up, I was just like, we are the same. We had the same color shirt on, same tunic style with black leggings and our little matching Puma socks from Costco. I was like, you are me. I am you. We are the same. And she unloaded on me that day. And it was an instant bond that these are the kinds of people that find me. I'm like, of course you found me. Of course you did, because I see the gift. I see the gift in people. Like I can literally see, oh, you're a fairy. Oh, you're a unicorn. Gnome. Oh, you were a wizard. I see the magic in people right away. I can tell when I'm out in public, when there is an employee that is just doing the grind of the day-to-day thing to pay the bills, and I'm like, you're such a unicorn. Do you have any idea what a unicorn you are? I can see you. I see their light. And those are the ones I'm trying to capture. Those are the ones I'm trying to capture because we need more magic in the world. And so my thing is, it's not about me anymore. Like it quit being about me a long time ago. It quit being about me a long time ago. And I have just finally admitted it to myself that I'm okay receiving my abundance in whatever way that is meant to show up, but that why can't I share my natural innate gift with the world and also pay my bills? When people come to me and they say they don't have a lot of money, I have in the past, I have applied for scholarships. I can apply for a scholarship once a quarter for somebody to try the egg. And my requirement is you have to pay for at least one session. And one session is $107. And I have had people who have not taken me up on that. And that's okay. It's okay. This is not the point. The point is what happens, and what happened to me is when you are ready to step into your mission, when you are ready to do the thing that you know you were called to do, you will stop at nothing to make that thing happen. When I originally planned on starting this Harmonic Egg Wellness Center, I had a partner. My friend that I met in November of 2024, she and I were going to start the business together. And we had the ball rolling. And in March, she changed her mind. And in March, I had to make a decision. Do I move forward or do I go back to the life that I've been living? And I had to really sit with myself. Well, actually, I didn't. I wallowed for a few hours, and I saw a friend that day. We were getting together for a hike anyway, and I just told her, I said, I'm sorry, I feel a little off. And I told her what happened, and she said, well, you've got to keep going. You've got this. And I thought, okay, God, did you send her to me to remind me that I can do hard things? Because her saying that to me, a 20-year friendship that was one of the first friendships that I formed when I moved to Reno, that had withstood the test of time. And I thought, this is soul tribe. This is how the soul tribes roll. Your people, the ones that are here to support you in your mission work, they're going to come in like little angels. And you just got to lean in. The thing is there's no new information out there. The cheat code is love. Everything boils down to love, but how do we do it? It seems so hard. But that's where the healing work comes in. That's where knowing yourself comes in, and doing that deep inner shadow work of those parts of us that we've been masking our entire life. I masked. I did things that, yes, they've served me really well for this mission work. The graphic design. I've been able to do my own website. I've been able to create my own logos. I create all my own advertising. I do all my own marketing. I do all my own editing of this podcast because it's in my background. I've worked in a print shop. I know how to do different layouts for different things, signage, that kind of stuff. I know how to do that stuff. That's just a skill set. I understand commercial real estate because I worked in the commercial real estate business for years as a marketing assistant. I used the former company that I worked for as my broker, and we found the most killer location that was in my business plan. I wanted to be on these 2 streets. I put these 2 streets in my business plan, and I'm on the one that connects them both. And I found it the day that we were supposed to go on a tour. I found it that morning. It had just hit the market. That's the divine. That's how the divine shows up. My egg, she's very happy there. Very happy. I think she's on a sort of vortex. We have another egg in Reno. I had actually put an offer in on that same space. And there was already an offer, and it turns out it was the other harmonic egg in town. That space needed a harmonic egg too. They're magical. And I knew this is new earth technology, that I would be helping people. Another thing that happened in my story was that other harmonic egg coming into town. I found out she was actually going to buy her egg the day I signed my lease. But I bought my egg, and then I found my location, whereas she had found the location and then bought the egg. So I was operating more in a trustful, I'm going to buy this egg and I'm going to hope to God I find somewhere to put it. And that's where I am creating the unseen into the seen. That's what I did. I got my center, and then I was like, okay, this is great. And I was great for the first couple months. And then Spirit's like, and you going to go out there and network? I was like, no. Chamber of Commerce? Those aren't my people. My people are out in the world. My people are all over the world. This is quantum technology. I am quantum. I am multidimensional. I know this works because my best friend has been moving all over the United States. Poor thing. She went from Wyoming to California to Arizona. Oh, South Dakota was in there somewhere. All in like a couple of years. And she's calm. She's calm because I've been sending her remote egg sessions. My client yesterday is someone that I've been sending remote client sessions to for several weeks. Came in super high life force, chakras totally aligned, and I am amazed at how much stuff we've cleared already by the remote work. And so I know he only needs a couple more sessions with the egg to be on his highest timeline. Like he's doing it. Don't believe me? I don't know. You can look at staytunedsoultherapy.com and check it out. I developed a new offer. It's a product that my guides reminded me of the thing I used to do, my quantum assessments that I used to do, looking at spirit animals and what energetic blocks or what's draining your energy. This report is so in depth. It can tell you what your trapped emotions are, when they got trapped. It basically is a do-it-yourself kit without the healing sessions, although I do have that as an add-on. I have the clarity call you can get with it if you want. That is an additional, and I'm not trying to create a funnel. I'm just being flat out, like, up front. There are different levels based on timing and what you're needing. But if you're one of those people that's like me, that just likes to do it yourself, maybe you already know how to do the emotion code and you know how to do your own Reiki to yourself, then the report can help you set the intentions of the things that you want to clear. Because the thing that I find with the clients that I work with is they have all these supernatural abilities, but they don't have the framework of the esoteric and the mysticism and the quantum and how these concepts all work similarly. And all they need is somebody to say, yeah, you're correct. You are correct in thinking that. And they freaking take off like fireworks because they go, oh, they just need a little bit of permission or somebody that's going to say, oh yeah, you've got this. A friend. The thing is I cheer everybody on. I want everybody to win. I post other healers' work. I repost their offerings. And why do I do that? Because I don't need to be the gatekeeper of information, because the people that follow me and the information that I provide, I look at myself as a resource. Not a gatekeeper, I'm a resource. And I want to help you. Whether that's me helping you or somebody else, I don't really care how you get there, honestly. There's a million ways to get there. I'm here to work with the people who feel called to work with me, but not everybody does. But if you've listened this far, it's that frequency connection that Soul Family has. There's so many people that help me on my path, and I'm here to help you on yours. So I will see if I can link to that quantum empath blueprint report in the description if you want to check that out. I think I'm trying to get it on my link tree. I know it's on my link tree for the quantum empath. If you follow me on TikTok, I'm on Instagram at Stay Tuned Soul Therapy. And yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm finding my people. We speak the same language. You're ancient, generational curse breakers and cosmic beings who have really big work to accomplish just by being here and being you. You don't have to do anything special except know who you are. Know who you are and shine your light. That's our work. We are the next generation. It's a return to humanity and a new era, a new paradigm, a new way of doing life. I wouldn't have started this business and done it in a way that put me in to a spin of dread and disaster, because that was never my intention. My intention was to be there and be a service to people who need this work. And I know there's people who need this work. The only difference between me and the old me was that people used to pay me to clean their houses, and they'd confide in me all day long as the housekeeper, but they would go talk to their therapist. The difference is now they can come to me. So, yeah, I wish you all the best in your day. May you have time to put your feet on the ground, drink your water. Little sea salt is helpful for some electrolytes and hydration. Epsom salt baths, early morning sun gazing are all really good tools to help you with your energy. Watch what you're putting into your body. If it's fear-based, if it's chaotic, what are you feeding on? And what's your algorithm trying to show you?